All right. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Rod Hardy back taking all these questions. I love questions. One of the questions I get a lot is how'd you get started in music? How long you been doing music? And what made you pursue this route after doing other things? You know, if people know me or have known my story, they know I was a financial advisor, worked in med device space. Then I started my own company. Had been running my own company for a few years. So I mean, I had other things going on before I got into music, and it's like it's kind of late to the music scene. What made you do that? And it wasn't like I was hurting for cash. You know, there's this conception is like this misconception that people are, oh, they poor and they come from poverty and want to get into music. So you think all, especially in hip hop, you think that route. Well, for me, it was a little different because my brother, late 2019, 2020, gets sick, ends up in a coma. He's in a coma for like 30 days. And when he came home, I'm sitting with him and I'm talking to him, about what he remembered, as he recovered, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, bro, man, like, what do you remember? And he says, only thing I remember is it was like I was in a bed, somebody at the door telling me to come on, let's go. It's a guy at the door saying, come on, let's go. He's like, I'm trying to get up and I can't get up. And he says, as I like look over the top of me, there's this nurse with dreads. She don't have no face, but this nurse with dreads is there, and she's saying no. She's rubbing my shoulder, rubbing my head, and say, "No, you gonna stay here with me." Um, and that's it. Only memory from 30 days, 20 something days in a coma. And he was like, when he woke up, I'm asking the nurses, where's the nurse with the dreads? Where's the nurse with the dreads? And they all like, there is no nurse here with dreads. And so he said he started to put it together, and he was like, man, that was all in his imagination. It was all his, was it his life? You know what I'm saying? And saying like, oh, you walk out this door with this person, that's your life. And she's saying no. Like, you don't really know what it is, but this is what he remembered. And he said the one thing, he said, I don't really know what that meant. But the one thing I know is this. At 32 years old, I almost died. And, got sick overnight. And it's like all the things I said I wanted to do, things I wanted to do with my sons, things I wanted to do with my old lady, things I want to do with mom, pops, like anything or goals I had, I would always say, oh, yeah, I'll get to that next year. I'll do that, this. And he was like, whatever you want to do it now because you don't know when it's all over. And he said to me, you've been saying you're going to put out an album for years. Since we was kids, always saying you was going to do something in music. What you doing? And so, like, I would say less than a month later, you know, I'm selling off trucks and trailers and getting ready to, go with the music and stuff. At that point, I was, assessed and thought to myself, like, man, I mean, I done worked, I done made a lot of money. I mean, you grow up like, oh man, shit, if I can make six figures, this and that. I made six figures for years. And it was like, you make money, you just pay bills, like it's just life. But until you find like what you really want to do and you have a good time doing it, you just spinning yourself in circles, you know what I'm saying, and putting a lot of things off that you enjoy. And so when it came to the music, the funny thing is like nobody wanted to mess with me. Like I knew people that had studios. I hit them up like, hey, can I grab a studio with you? Or I knew rappers. I remember I hit this one rapper. I'm like, oh yeah, let's hop in the studio. This and this. I'll pay for the session, this and that. And when it all came down time for the session, they were under the impression I was investing in what they was doing and was paying for their studio time. And, like days before the studio, I'm like, hey, do you got producers that can get us beats and this and that? Like, oh, you want to get on the track and stuff? So everybody was kind of like off me. And so I really just was like, shit, I'm living in LA. I know it's studios here. I can call up a studio, get it figured out. So I jumped online, started looking up studios. I found a studio that I liked, looked cool, looked at the equipment online. They had different microphones and stuff I wanted. And I was like, cool. And then I just hit the ground running on Instagram for producers and stuff. And I ended up bumping into a dude who I actually knew from growing up living in LA. He was in LA as a producer. Um, Goes by I Am Him. And so I hit him up. I'm like, hey, I need beats, this and that. He like, let me open the drive up to you. I'll shoot you some stuff. He shoots me the music. And then I was like, I got this session. Do you know an engineer? He's like, I engineer too. So, whatever. I'll pull up for your session. This is how much it costs. Boom, boom, boom. So I get the studio. He sends me some beats. Um, it was like I said, it was a couple other people who I knew who had studios. Wasn't really like I said, they wasn't trying to mess with me in the studio, but they did throw me some good information. Talk to me, sat down and talked to me about the business aspect, BMI, getting your stuff set up so you can get paid, where you gonna release your music through. Started off with United Masters, like okay, shoot your stuff through United Masters, this and that. How you get signed up for that? Looking at DistroKid, looking at this. So I just went and just did all this research myself. Go into the studio. That first session was a 12-hour session. We did 9 to 9, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. I went in there, and that session I recorded number one. We recorded doing numbers. Um, we recorded Wise Words that was just on the Born in the 90s EP. Or maybe it was on the Loaded. It was on the Loaded EP, and we recorded Trolling that just came out on the Cuffin Season 2 EP. So number one, doing numbers, Wise Words, Trolling, and there were some other tracks, but we might have scratched them. I think in that 8-hour session we might have came out with that 12-hour session. I think we cut it short, more like 8 or 9. We probably came out with 8 or 9 songs, and then those came out. We tossed them out, but I mean, like, for first day in the studio, worked out, and then it hit the ground running from there. We released number one, great reception for number one. My sister sends me a message like, "Hey, I saw Boosie posted on his Instagram. He was doing features, this and that." Reached out to his manager, who one of his managers was actually from Ohio, where some of my people are from. I called my little cousin, like, "Hey, can you get in contact with him?" Boom, he got in contact with him, set that up. He was like, we like your music. He like what you're doing. He heard some of the stuff. Come on, fly out to Atlanta. We flew to Atlanta. We did the verse. We did the song right there in the house, in his studio. Knocked it out, came back. Now we got Greatness ready to go. And then it was like, we was off to the races for then, and it's just been a journey ever since. So that's how I, got started in music. But the funny thing is, when I tell people, like, I've only been putting out music for 3 years, but my true belief is that music is family business. Music, entertainment, and sports is family business for us as Black people. And what I mean by that is, like, we get caught up in letting the world tell us. You hear people all the time like, "Oh, we need electricians and plumbers and this and that," and yet y'all want to be rappers. Like, somebody else's goal and gift might be plumbing and electricity and different things like that. But here's one thing that it irritates me, that we allow society to diminish everything that's Black about us. Music and entertainment is the most lucrative industry out there, period. You know what I'm saying? You can be in the finance industry. There's a lot of money moving around, but you managing other people's money and making money off of that. But the money is being made in, music and entertainment. There's natural resources and things like that. But for the most part, the big industry, music and entertainment, sports, there is no greater talent in those than Black people. Every sport has had a superior Black athlete run through them. Golf, as much as they say we don't play golf, Tiger Woods ran through the sport. Serena and Venus ran through the sport. There's been great Black baseball players, basketball, of course, we all over football. That's family business for Blacks. Music, I mean, since the beginning of time, music has been our thing. Even in a time where Black artists' music was being stolen by whites and pushed to the world to profit. When it comes to television and entertainment, like, we don't own our networks and our outlets, which is something that I think we need to do, and we need to gain ownership in what we do. But we have all the talent in the world in that space. That's what we do. Flip side of that, when you go to the doctor or the dentist, it's pretty common that you'll come across some Asian dentists. You'll come across obviously some white dentists and doctors and things like that. You'll have a couple African doctors and dentists and things like that as well. But that's family business for them. If you ask that Asian dentist, what your dad do? He probably was a dentist. You ask your Asian surgeon, what his dad do? He probably was a dentist. Granddad probably was a doctor, a surgeon in some form. And that's what they do. That's their lineage. That's what they do. When it comes to technology, you have a lot of Asian people in technology. How did they get into technology? My dad did this, my dad did this. Like it's family business to them. That's what they do. We let our family business be diminished by what people say is like, oh, you guys want to be rappers? Yeah, because we're great at it. We're great at music, not just rap. It's just music in general. That's what we're great at. That's what we do. Sports, yes, we're great at it. That's what we do. Look at LeBron James. He's showing you. He's a great athlete. His sons are coming up in sports. Like it's okay for us to take what we're great at and run with it. Can we be doctors and dentists and things like that? Yeah. Just like they can be athletes as well, but the list of them are not going to be as long. And the thing about, being a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer, things like that, people have this misconception that it's just a given. I want to be a doctor. I can go be a doctor. No, you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like everything takes work. Yes, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. What I'm saying is it takes work just like anything else. And right now, especially with social media, and music and stuff, you have the opportunity to push your thing and do your thing. Man, doctors are broke year after year after year after year unless they come for money as they trying to do it. And you might not always have the resources to navigate that system. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a lot. And you might not get into the schools you want. You might not be able to get into the specialty you want. Like there's a lot of different things that go into it. Everybody can't just wake up and say they want to be a doctor and go. But we make people think doctors and lawyers are what you should be. Athletes and entertainers are one in a million. It's one in a million. You know why it's one in a million? Because you let the world diminish the talent that you have. And so you start to put your energy and efforts into other things that's outside of your realm. And now all of a sudden, you might not be the greatest athlete or the greatest entertainer because you gave up on it and you started focusing, you started doubting yourself. And the minute you start doubting yourself, now you're in trouble. So I think we gotta keep pushing and keep doing it. And that's what that time with my brother showed me. It was like, love business, love that side of business and the companies I was working for and the things I was doing, but I'm a boss in myself, which is why I left the companies and started my own stuff. Like I know my space in that, but I'm also a very creative person and can be creative on that space. And now I get to pair it with being well-rounded in business, and I can handle my own stuff. I've funded my music to this point all by myself, all from my companies, all from the things I've done. I haven't, taken a dime from anybody. And I think the other thing is that we got to understand, we think entertainment and music is like this big celebrity thing, this big stardom thing. To any artists out there, I would say this. There aren't many jobs out there where people are making, $200,000-$300,000 a year is not a common thing, for most people working. I took what I was doing and said, okay, I can do anywhere from $250,000 a year. Is what I had been doing and stuff. And I'm like, okay. From there, I said, how do I make that in music? And I broke it down into simple form. I said, hey, if I get 2,000 or 2,500 fans to spend $100 with me, that's merch, shows, you get your money on streams, different things like that. I need 2,500 people to spend $100 with me in a year, and that is $250,000. When you start to break it down like that, you don't have to be Drake. You don't have to be Kendrick Lamar. You don't have to be these big artists. You have to be consistent in what you do, and the fans will grow. If you do 2,500 fans today, and those fans show up to your shows, they probably gonna bring somebody with them, and so you start to trickle into. And next year, you might see 3,000 spending 100 with you, and now you're sitting at 300,000. You see what I'm saying? It's like you don't have to be a millionaire like to be in music and want to do music. You just have to do what you do and find a way to be profitable in it. It's just like any business. If you start a restaurant business, restaurants are tough business. You got to figure out how many customers I can get in, what's my margins on my food, how I can get people to come in and do that. So what I would tell people is if you want to do it, just get off the internet and get away from or don't let people get in your head like you got to be this big time celebrity. That stuff will come. But if you focused on that, you're going to always feel like you're behind. You're going to always feel like you're failing. You're going to always feel like it ain't that. But if you can just focus on making $1, you feel me? I saw somebody say, you successful in music if you could pay a bill with what you do. You know what I'm saying? I drop a merch line. If I get a 100 people to buy a $50 hoodie, you know what I mean? Like, man, they like my music and my brand and what I'm doing enough to purchase a hoodie with me. I don't take that lightly. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all every single purchase for that. When I see the streams continue to go up, and you get those quarterly statements, those monthly statements, and you're getting paid for your streams, it's like, damn, this is music I put out years ago, 2 years ago, and it's still getting, revenue from it. It's not the revenue is not why you do it, but it's like, man, if you can make a living doing it, and in all actuality, hell, you could live off $150,000 and be comfortable. Most people didn't grow up with that kind of money. Like if you keep your expenses low, you can do it. And so, hey, you, yes, you. What I need you to do is bloop, bloop, brrr, like, subscribe, comment, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And the chair was just a prop. I'm here face to face with you because I love you and I appreciate you still loading foes up all day. Your boy Rod Hardy, you know what to do. Let's go.